Jake Martinez pushed his cleaning cart down the empty hallway of the Stellar Heights building. His shoes made soft sounds on the polished marble floor. The clock on the wall showed 11:30 p.m. Most people had gone home hours ago, but Jake's work was just beginning. He had been cleaning this building for 8 years. Every night, he arrived at 10 o'clock and worked until 6 in the morning. The pay was not great, but it was steady work. Jake needed steady work. His daughter Emma was in her second year of college, and college was expensive. Jake liked the quiet of night work. During the day, the building was full of people in expensive suits talking loudly on phones. They walked past him like he was invisible, but at night, the building belonged to him. He could take his time and do his job right. Tonight felt different. Though, there were still lights on in some of the offices on the top floors. Jake had heard from other workers that some big movie star was having meetings up there. He did not pay much attention to celebrity gossip, but he hoped they would not make too much mess for him to clean. Jake started on the 15th floor, like always. He emptied trash cans, wiped down desks, and vacuumed carpets. The work was simple, but Jake took pride in it. He made sure every surface was clean, every trash can was empty, every window was spotless. As he worked his way up to the 20th floor, he could hear voices coming from the conference room. The door was closed, but he could tell the meeting was ending. People were saying goodbye and shaking hands. Jake decided to clean the offices on the other side of the floor first. He did not want to disturb anyone. His supervisor had always told him to stay out of the way when important people were around. 20 minutes later, Jake was cleaning near the elevators when he heard footsteps. A small group of people in dark suits walked toward the elevator. In the middle of them was a man Jake recognized immediately. It was Keanu Reeves. Jake had seen all his movies. The Matrix was Emma's favorite movie. She had watched it dozens of times. She had posters of Keanu on her bedroom wall back when she was in high school. Even now in college, she still talked about how much she admired him. Jake's heart started beating faster. He had never met a famous person before. Keanu looked tired but friendly. He was talking quietly with the men in suits, probably his agents or lawyers. Jake knew he should just keep cleaning. He should pretend he had not seen anything. That was what a good employee would do. But all he could think about was Emma. She would be so excited if he could get an autograph for her. The elevator doors opened. The men in suits got on first. Keanu was about to follow them when Jake made his decision. "Excuse me," Jake said, his voice shaky. "Mr. Reeves?" Keanu turned around. Up close, he looked exactly like he did in movies, just a little older. His dark hair was a bit messy, and he had stubble on his face. "Yes," Keanu said. His voice was kind. Jake felt his face getting hot. His hands were sweating. "I'm sorry to bother you, sir. I know you're probably tired. I just ... My daughter is a huge fan of yours. She's in college now, but she's loved your movies since she was little." Keanu smiled. It was a real smile, not the fake kind Jake had expected. "That's very sweet. What's her name?" "Emma," Jake said. "Emma Martinez." "That's a beautiful name," Keanu said. The men in the elevator were looking impatient, but Keanu did not seem to care. Jake took a deep breath. "I was wondering, would it be possible? Could you maybe sign something for her? I know it's a lot to ask, and you don't have to ... double quotes." "Of course," Keanu said without hesitation. "I'd be happy to." Jake could not believe it. He looked around frantically for something to write on. All he had was his cleaning supplies and his timesheet. He pulled out the timesheet and a pen from his pocket. "This is all I have," Jake said, embarrassed. "This is perfect," Keanu said. He took the paper and pen. "How do you spell Emma?" Jake told him, and Keanu wrote carefully on the back of the timesheet. "To Emma Martinez," he wrote. "Follow your dreams and be excellent to each other. Keanu Reeves." He handed the paper back to Jake. Jake stared at it like it was made of gold. "Thank you so much," Jake said. "She's going to cry when she sees this." "In a good way, I mean." Keanu laughed. "Tell Emma I said to keep studying hard. College is important." "I will, sir." "Thank you again." Keanu nodded and got into the elevator. As the doors closed, he gave Jake a small wave. Jake stood there for a long moment, holding the autograph. He could not wait to call Emma in the morning. She was going to scream with excitement, but Jake did not know that security cameras had recorded everything. He did not know that someone was watching those cameras. He did not know that his simple request for an autograph would change his life forever. The next morning, Jake was getting ready to go home when his supervisor, Mr. Patterson, called him into the office. "Jake, we need to talk," Mr. Patterson said. His face was serious. Jake sat down, confused. "Is something wrong? Did you approach Mr. Reeves last night?" Jake's stomach dropped. "Yes, sir. I asked for an autograph for my daughter." "Was that wrong?" He seemed happy to do it. Mr. Patterson turned his computer screen toward Jake. On the screen was a video from the security camera. Jake watched himself talking to Keanu, asking for the autograph. "Jake, you know the rules. We don't bother clients, ever. Especially VIP. Clients like Mr. Reeves." "But he was nice about it," Jake said. "He didn't mind at all." "That's not the point," Mr. Patterson said. "The building management is very upset. They're saying you harassed a celebrity. They want you gone." Jake felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "Harassed?" "I just asked politely." He said yes. "I'm sorry, Jake. I really am. You're a good worker. But I have to let you go." Effective immediately, Jake could not speak. After 8 years of good work, he was being fired for asking politely for an autograph. "You'll get your final paycheck in the mail," Mr. Patterson said. "I'm sorry it has to end this way." Jake walked out of the building in a daze. He sat in his old car in the parking lot, still holding Emma's autograph. In just 12 hours, it had gone from being the best thing that ever happened to him to the thing that cost him his job. He did not know how he was going to tell Emma. He did not know how he was going to pay her college bills. All he knew was that his life had just fallen apart because he wanted to make his daughter happy. 3 weeks had passed since Jake lost his job. 3 weeks of sitting in his small apartment, filling out job applications, and getting rejected. Every time he applied somewhere, they would search his name on the internet. The video of him asking Keanu Reeves for an autograph was everywhere. The story had grown bigger than Jake ever imagined. Someone had posted the security camera footage online with the title, "Creepy Janitor Harasses Keanu Reeves." The video had millions of views. People in the comments called Jake desperate and pathetic. They said he was a stalker who deserved to be fired. Jake stopped reading the comments after the first day. They made him feel sick. Emma had come home from college to visit him. She was worried about her father. Jake had not told her the whole truth about losing his job. He just said there were budget cuts at the building. "Dad, are you okay?" Emma asked one evening. They were eating dinner together in the kitchen. The autograph from Keanu Reeves was framed on the wall next to them. "I'm fine, sweetheart," Jake lied. "I'll find another job soon." But Jake was not fine. He had applied to dozens of places. No one wanted to hire him. The video had made him famous. For all the wrong reasons. Even places that needed janitors turned him away once they recognized his name. Jake's savings were running low. He had about 2 months of rent money left. After that, he did not know what he would do. Emma still had 2 years of college left. She was studying to be a teacher. Jake could not let her drop out because of his mistake. The worst part was the loneliness. Jake spent most of his time alone in the apartment. He used to work at night and sleep during the day. Now he had nothing to do but think about how badly he had messed up his life. One evening, Jake was cleaning out his bedroom closet. He was looking for things he could sell to make some money. In the back of the closet, behind some old clothes, he found a wooden box he had forgotten about. Inside the box were things that had belonged to his grandfather, Roberto Martinez. Roberto had died when Jake was 15 years old. Jake's mother had given him some of Roberto's things, but Jake had never looked through them carefully. There were old photos of Roberto as a young man in Mexico. There were letters written in Spanish that Jake could not read very well. At the bottom of the box was an old radio. The radio was heavy and made of dark wood. It had a big round dial in the front and two smaller dials on the sides. Jake had never seen his grandfather use it. He did not even know if it still worked. Jake carried the radio to his kitchen table. He found an old electrical cord that fit into the back of it. When he plugged it in, a small orange light came on. The radio was still working after all these years. Jake turned the big dial slowly. He heard static, then bits of music, then people talking in different languages. The radio could pick up stations from very far away. Jake spent an hour listening to stations from Mexico, Canada, and other countries. For the first time in weeks, Jake felt a little bit interested in something. Working with the radio reminded him of being a kid and helping his grandfather fix things around the house. Roberto had been good with his hands. He could fix anything. Jake started spending his evenings with the radio. He would sit at the kitchen table, slowly turning the dials, looking for new stations. It was better than watching television or reading more bad comments about himself on the internet. One night, about a week after finding the radio, Jake was having trouble sleeping. It was 3 a.m, but he was wide awake. He went to the kitchen and turned on the radio. Jake was turning the dial very slowly, listening to the static between stations. Sometimes you could find interesting things late at night. Radio signals traveled farther when the sun was down. He was almost at the end of the dial when he heard something strange. It was not music or people talking. It sounded like beeping and clicking noises. The sounds had a pattern to them, like they meant something. Jake listened for a few minutes. The sounds were definitely not random. They repeated in sequences like a code or a language. But it was not like any language Jake had ever heard. Jake thought maybe it was some kind of military communication. He had heard that the military used special radio frequencies. Or maybe it was amateur radio operators using Morse code. But as Jake listened more carefully, he realized the sounds were too complex for Morse code. And they were coming from a frequency that should not have had any signals at all. Jake wrote down the numbers on the radio dial where he found the signal. The next night, he tuned to the same frequency. The strange sounds were there again, but they were different. The pattern had changed. Jake started keeping a notebook. Every night, he would listen to the strange frequency and write down what he heard. After a few days, he noticed that the sounds came at the same times each night. They lasted exactly 17 minutes. Then there was silence until the next night. Jake became obsessed with the sounds. He would sit at his kitchen table every night from 3 a.m. to 3:30 a.m., listening and taking notes. He tried to find patterns in the beeping and clicking. Emma called him one night while he was listening. "Dad, are you awake?" "It's 3 a.m. I'm fine," Jake said. "I was just listening to the radio." "Dad, you need to get some sleep. And you need to keep looking for work. You can't just sit around all day." Jake wanted to tell Emma about the strange signals, but he knew she would think he was losing his mind. People already thought he was crazy because of the video. If he started talking about mysterious radio signals, it would just make things worse. But Jake could not stop listening. Every night, the signals were there. And every night, they seemed to be getting stronger and clearer. After 2 weeks of listening, Jake started to think the sounds might actually be some kind of language. The patterns were too complex and too regular to be anything else. But what kind of language used only beeping and clicking sounds? One night, Jake heard something different. Mixed in with the beeping and clicking, he heard what sounded like numbers. Real numbers, spoken in English. Double quotes. 72.4. The voice said. It was faint, but Jake was sure he heard it. Jake's hands started shaking. He turned up the volume on the radio and listened as hard as he could. Double quotes. Distance from primary target. The voice continued. It was a man's voice, speaking clearly in English, but there was something strange about it. The voice sounded cold and emotionless. Jake grabbed his notebook and started writing down everything he heard. The voice talked about coordinates and distances and something called fleet positioning. Then Jake heard something that made his blood freeze. Earth surveillance complete. Population analysis confirms weakness patterns. Invasion timeline remains optimal. Jake stared at his notebook. He read the words again to make sure he had written them correctly. Earth, invasion. These were not military communications. These were not amateur radio operators. Jake sat in his kitchen until sunrise, staring at the radio. His hands were still shaking. That something impossible was happening. And somehow, his grandfather's old radio was the only thing on Earth that could hear it. Jake did not sleep for the rest of that night. He sat at his kitchen table, staring at the words he had written in his notebook. Earth, invasion, fleet positioning. The words looked crazy written in his handwriting, but Jake had heard them clearly. Someone or something was planning to attack Earth, and somehow, his grandfather's old radio was picking up their communications. Jake spent the morning on his computer, searching for phone numbers. He needed to tell someone about what he had discovered. But who would believe him? Who should he call first? He decided to start with NASA. If anyone would take alien communications seriously, it would be the space agency. Jake called the main NASA number. After being transferred 3 times, he finally reached someone who would listen to him. "This is Dr. Adams," the woman said. "I understand you have some kind of report about extraterrestrial signals?" "Yes," Jake said. His voice was shaky. "I've been picking up radio transmissions. They're talking about invading Earth." There was a long pause. "Sir, can you tell me your name and occupation?" "Jake Martinez. I was a janitor." "But that doesn't matter. What matters is these signals. They're real." "Mr. Martinez, we get calls like this every day. People think they're hearing alien signals, but it's usually just interference from cell phones or satellites. This is different," Jake said. "They're speaking English. They mentioned Earth by name. They're talking about invasion timelines. Sir, if there were really alien signals out there, our radio telescopes would have detected them. We monitor space constantly." Jake felt frustrated. "Maybe they're using a frequency you're not watching. My radio picked them up on." Jake told her the exact frequency. Dr. Adams was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Martinez, that's not a frequency used for space communication. That's in the amateur radio band." "I know how it sounds," Jake said, "but I'm telling you the truth. Can't you just check? Can't you listen to that frequency tonight at 3 a.m.? Mr. Martinez, I'm going to be honest with you. We looked up your name while you were talking. You're the man from that video, aren't you? The one who bothered Keanu Reeves?" Jake's heart sank. "Yes, but that has nothing to do with this." "Sir, it sounds like you're going through a difficult time. There are people who can help you. But calling us with stories about alien invasions is not the answer." The line went dead. Dr. Adams had hung up on him. Jake tried calling the FBI next. The person who answered transferred him to someone else, who transferred him again. Finally, he reached Agent Martinez. At least they had the same last name. "Agent Martinez, my name is Jake Martinez. I've discovered communications about an alien invasion of Earth." "Slow down, sir. You said alien invasion?" "Yes, I've been intercepting radio signals for 2 weeks. They're planning to attack Earth in a few months." Agent Martinez asked Jake to explain everything from the beginning. Jake told him about the radio, the strange signals, and the English words he had heard. "Mr. Martinez, have you been under any stress lately? Lost a job recently?" Jake closed his eyes. They had looked him up too. "Yes, I lost my job. But that's not why I'm calling. This is real. Sir, sometimes when people are under stress, they can imagine things that aren't there. The mind can play tricks on us." "I'm not imagining this," Jake said. "I have notes. I wrote down everything I heard. Mr. Martinez, I'm going to give you a number for a mental health hotline. They have people who can help you work through what you're feeling." "I don't need mental health help," Jake said, his voice getting louder. "I need you to listen to me. Earth is in danger. Sir, I'm going to have to end this call now. Please get the help you need." Another hang-up. Jake put his head in his hands. He tried calling the military, the Air Force, the Navy, the Coast Guard. Every time it was the same thing. They would listen for a minute, look up his name, see the video, and decide he was crazy. Jake spent 3 days making phone calls. He called news stations, radio shows, and internet bloggers. No one would take him seriously. They all knew about the video. They all thought he was a desperate man looking for attention. That night, Jake listened to the alien signals again. This time he heard even more details. "Human social media analysis complete," the cold voice said. "Subjects demonstrate rapid opinion changes based on viral content. Recommend exploiting tribal behavior patterns." Jake wrote frantically in his notebook. "Current example shows effectiveness of public humiliation tactics." Subject designation: Jake Martinez demonstrates typical human response to social rejection. Population control through shame and isolation proves highly effective. Jake's pen stopped moving. They were talking about him. The aliens had seen his video. They were studying how humans had treated him as an example of how to control people. Psychological warfare preparations continue. Human tendency toward mob mentality will be primary attack vector. Physical invasion secondary to social collapse. Jake felt sick. The aliens were not just planning to attack Earth with weapons. They were planning to destroy human society from the inside. They were going to use the same kind of online bullying that had ruined Jake's life to break down all of humanity. Jake kept listening. The aliens talked about specific plans. They would create fake social media accounts. They would spread lies and rumors. They would turn people against each other until society collapsed. Then they would move in with their ships. "Timeline remains optimal," the voice said. "Earth invasion begins in 4 Earth months. Preparation for psychological phase begins in 2 Earth months. 2 months. Jake had 2 months to warn people, and no one would listen to him. The next morning, Jake tried a different approach. Instead of calling authorities, he went to the local news station. Maybe if he talked to them in person, they would take him seriously. The receptionist at Channel 7 News looked at Jake suspiciously when he said he had a story about alien invasion. "Is this some kind of joke?" she asked. "No joke," Jake said. "I have evidence. I've been intercepting their communications." The receptionist made a phone call. A few minutes later, a young reporter came out to meet Jake. "Mr. Martinez? I'm Tony Rodriguez. I understand you have a story for us." Jake explained everything again. Tony listened politely, but Jake could see the doubt in his eyes. "Mr. Martinez, are you the same Jake Martinez from that video? The one with Keanu Reeves?" "Yes," Jake said. "But this is completely different. Sir, it sounds like you've been under a lot of stress. Maybe you should talk to someone." "Why won't anyone listen to me?" Jake said, his voice getting desperate. "I'm telling you the truth. Earth is going to be attacked." Tony looked uncomfortable. "Sir, I think you should leave now. Security will help you to your car." Jake left the news station feeling hopeless. Two security guards walked into his car and watched him drive away. That evening, Jake sat at his kitchen table with his notebook. He had pages and pages of alien communications. He had dates, times, and specific details about their invasion plans. But none of it mattered if no one would believe him. Emma called him that night. "Dad, someone sent me a video. Were you at a news station today talking about aliens?" Jake's heart sank. Someone had recorded him at Channel 7 and posted it online. Now he was not just the guy who bothered Keanu Reeves. He was the crazy guy who thought aliens were coming. "Emma, I can explain. Dad, you need help, real help. You're scaring me." Jake looked at his grandfather's radio. In a few hours, he would hear the alien signals again. He would learn more about their plans, but it would not matter. No one would ever believe him. Jake was completely alone with the most important secret in human history. Jake woke up the next morning to find 57 new messages on his phone. Most of them were mean comments about the video from the news station. People were calling him crazy and telling him to get help. Some people were even making jokes about Jake the alien hunter, but one message was different. It was from an account called Keanu Reeves Official with a blue check mark. Jake almost deleted it, thinking it was someone playing a joke on him. But something made him read it. "Jake, this is Keanu Reeves. I saw the news report. I remember you and what happened. Can we talk? Please send me your phone number." Jake stared at the message for 10 minutes. It could not be real. Why would Keanu Reeves want to talk to him? Especially after Jake had become famous for bothering him. But Jake had nothing left to lose. He sent his phone number in a reply message. 20 minutes later, his phone rang. The caller ID showed a California number. "Hello," Jake said. "Jake, this is Keanu Reeves." Jake recognized the voice immediately. It was definitely him. "Mr. Reeves? Why are you calling me?" "Please call me Keanu." "Jake, I need to tell you something. I felt terrible about what happened to you. When I heard you lost your job because of asking for an autograph, I tried to call your building. I tried to get them to hire you back." Jake was shocked. "You did?" "They wouldn't listen to me. They said it was company policy." "I'm really sorry, Jake. You were just being nice to your daughter. You didn't deserve what happened." Jake felt tears in his eyes. For weeks, everyone had treated him like he was a bad person. It meant everything to hear Keanu say that. "Thank you," Jake said. "That means a lot." "Jake, I saw the news report yesterday. The one where you were talking about alien signals. I want you to know I'm not calling to tell you to get help or anything like that." "You're not?" "No, I've been thinking about this all night. You're not the kind of person who makes up crazy stories for attention. When I met you, you were just a hard-working father who wanted to make his daughter happy. So if you say you're hearing alien signals, maybe I should listen." Jake could not believe what he was hearing. "You believe me? I want to hear what you have to say. Can we meet somewhere? Somewhere private where we can talk." They agreed to meet at a small coffee shop in a quiet part of town. Jake arrived first and sat in a corner booth. He brought his notebook and his grandfather's radio. When Keanu walked in, Jake was surprised by how normal he looked. He was wearing jeans and a plain black shirt. No bodyguards, no fancy clothes. He looked like any regular person. Keanu sat down across from Jake. "Thank you for meeting me. I know this must be weird for you." "Everything in my life is weird now," Jake said. Keanu smiled sadly. "Jake, I want you to tell me everything. Start from the beginning." Jake told Keanu the whole story. Finding the radio, hearing the strange signals, discovering they were alien communications. He showed Keanu his notebook with all the things he had written down. Keanu listened carefully. He did not interrupt or look at Jake like he was crazy. He just listened. "This is a lot to take in," Keanu said when Jake finished. "But you have so many specific details. dates, times, exact quotes. It would be hard to make all this up. I'm not making it up, Jake said. I know how it sounds, but it's real. Can you show me? Can you pick up these signals right now? Jake looked around the coffee shop. There were other people there, but they seemed to be minding their own business. The signals only come at night. 3 in the morning, every night. But I can show you the radio. Jake pulled the old radio out of his bag. Keanu examined it carefully. This is beautiful, Keanu said. It looks like it's from the 1950s. It was my grandfather's. I don't know why it can pick up signals that other radios can't. Keanu was quiet for a long moment. Jake, what you're telling me is incredible. But there's something about you that makes me want to believe it. You're not asking me for money or fame. You're not trying to get anything from me. You just seem like someone who stumbled onto something huge and doesn't know what to do about it. That's exactly what happened, Jake said. Okay, Keanu said. Here's what we're going to do. Tonight, I'm going to come to your apartment. We're going to listen to these signals together. If I hear what you've been hearing, then we'll figure out what to do next. Jake felt a wave of relief. Finally, someone was taking him seriously. That night, Keanu came to Jake's apartment at 2:45 a.m. He was wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses even though it was dark. I don't want anyone to see me here until we know what we're dealing with, Keanu explained. They sat at Jake's kitchen table with the radio between them. Jake tuned it to the frequency where he always heard the alien signals at exactly 3 a.m. The signals began at first. There was just the beeping and clicking that Jake had heard on the first night. Keanu listened with his eyes closed, concentrating hard. Then the English words started. Phase 1 psychological preparation begins in 47 Earth days, the cold voice said. Social media infiltration teams ready for deployment. Keanu's eyes snapped open. He stared at the radio in shock. Subject Jake Martinez continues to demonstrate typical human response patterns, the voice continued. Public ridicule has isolated. Subject from social support systems. Recommend similar tactics for large-scale population control. Keanu looked at Jake with wide eyes. They were hearing the aliens talk about Jake specifically. Fleet positioning update, another voice said. All ships now in position beyond Jupiter. Visual detection by Earth telescopes remains impossible due to reflection shield technology. For 17 minutes, they listened to the aliens discuss their invasion plans. They talked about which cities to attack first. They talked about how to cut off Earth's communications. They talked about how to turn humans against each other. When the signals ended, Keanu and Jake sat in silence for a long time. This is real, Keanu finally said. His voice was barely a whisper. Yes, Jake said. They're really coming. In less than 2 months. Yes. Keanu stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the city where millions of people were sleeping. Peacefully, not knowing what was coming. Jake, we have to do something. We can't let this happen. I tried to warn people. No one believes me. Keanu turned back to Jake. That's because you tried to warn them alone. But you're not alone anymore. What do you mean? I mean, I believe you, and I have something you don't have. What's that? A platform. Millions of people know who I am. They listen when I talk. Maybe they won't listen to Jake Martinez, the fired janitor. But they might listen to Keanu Reeves. Jake felt hope for the first time in weeks. You'll help me warn people? Jake, I'm going to do more than that. I'm going to help you save the world. Keanu sat back down at the table. But we have to be smart about this. If we just go on TV and say aliens are coming, people will think we're both crazy. We need proof. We need a plan. What kind of plan? Keanu smiled. I don't know yet. But I know someone who might be able to help us. Someone who understands both technology and people. Who? My friend who works in Silicon Valley. He runs a company that does live streaming. If we're going to reach the whole world, we're going to need the biggest platform possible. Jake looked at Keanu with amazement. 24 hours ago, he had been completely alone with the most important secret in human history. Now he had the most famous person in the world sitting in his kitchen, planning to help him save humanity. Keanu, why are you doing this? Why? Are you risking your reputation to help me? Keanu was quiet for a moment. Because 8 years ago, my sister died of cancer. In her last days, she told me that the only thing that matters in life is helping people when they really need help. You need help, Jake. And through you, the whole world needs help. Jake felt tears in his eyes again. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Keanu said. We have a lot of work to do. And we only have 47 days to do it. For the next 3 weeks, Jake and Keanu worked together in secret. Keanu's friend Marcus owned a company called Global Stream that provided live video services to major websites. Marcus was skeptical at first, but when Keanu brought him to Jake's apartment to hear the alien signals, he became a believer too. This changes everything, Marcus said after listening to the aliens for the first time. We need to get this information to everyone on Earth at the same time. They developed a careful plan. Keanu would announce a special live broadcast event. He would tell people it was for a charity that helped families affected by job loss and online bullying. People would tune in expecting to see Keanu talk about helping people like Jake. Instead, they would hear the truth about the alien invasion. Jake was terrified about appearing on camera. Millions of people would see him. Most of them already thought he was crazy because of the videos that had gone viral. I can't do this, Jake told Keanu the night before the broadcast. People hate me. They'll just think this is another crazy stunt. Jake, that's exactly why you have to do this, Keanu said. The aliens are using the same tactics that people used against you. They're using shame and ridicule to control humans. If you can stand up and tell the truth despite all of that, you'll be showing everyone how to fight back. Marcus had set up cameras and streaming equipment in a television studio he rented for the night. The broadcast would go live on every major platform at the same time. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and dozens of others. We'll reach about 2 billion people in the first hour, Marcus explained. Maybe more if people start sharing it. The plan was simple but risky. Keanu would start by talking about Jake's story. How he lost his job for asking politely for an autograph. How the internet turned against him. Then Jake would tell his story about discovering the alien signals. But the most important part would come at the end. They would play a recording of the alien communications live on the broadcast. Jake had been recording the signals every night for weeks. He had hours of the aliens talking about their invasion plans. Once people hear the aliens talking, they'll have to believe us, Keanu said. The night of the broadcast, Jake could barely eat dinner. His hands were shaking. Emma had driven home from college to be with him, though she still did not know what was really happening. Dad, what's this broadcast about? Emma asked. Keanu Reeves called and said I should watch, but he wouldn't tell me why. You'll understand when you see it, Jake said. I just need you to know that everything I'm doing is to protect you and everyone else. Emma looked worried. Dad, you're scaring me. At 8 p.m. Pacific time, the broadcast began. Keanu appeared on screen in the television studio. He looked serious but calm. Good evening, Keanu said. Thank you for joining me tonight. I want to tell you about a man named Jake Martinez. Keanu told Jake's story exactly as it happened. How Jake was a hard-working father who cleaned buildings at night to pay for his daughter's college. How he asked politely for an autograph and lost his job because of it. How the internet turned him into a laughing stock. Jake Martinez did nothing wrong, Keanu said. He was kind and polite. He was just trying to make his daughter happy, but our society destroyed his life anyway. Jake watched from backstage. The comments on the live stream were mixed. Some people felt sorry for Jake. Others still thought he deserved what happened. "Now I want you to meet Jake," Keanu said. Because Jake discovered something that affects every person on Earth. Jake walked onto the small stage. His legs felt weak. The camera lights were bright and hot. He could see numbers on a screen showing how many people were watching. The number kept getting bigger. 5 million. 10 million. 20 million. "Hello," Jake said. His voice cracked a little. "My name is Jake Martinez. 3 months ago, I was just a janitor. Tonight I'm here to save the world." Jake told his story, finding his grandfather's radio, hearing the strange signals, discovering they were alien communications. He spoke slowly and clearly, trying to stay calm. The comments on the live stream were brutal. People called Jake crazy. They said this was a fake publicity stunt. They said Keanu was being fooled by a desperate man. But Jake kept talking. He explained what the aliens were planning, how they would use psychological warfare to turn humans against each other, how they had studied Jake's own story as an example of how to control people through shame. "They're going to use the same tactics against all of us," Jake said. "They're going to make us hate each other until we destroy ourselves. Then they'll move in and take over." The viewer count kept rising. 30 million. 40 million. News websites were posting stories about the broadcast. Social media was exploding with debates about whether Jake was telling the truth. "I know this sounds impossible," Jake said. "I know many of you think I'm crazy. But I'm going to prove it to you right now." Jake brought out his grandfather's radio. He had connected it to the studio's sound system. The alien signals would broadcast live to the entire world. "Every night at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, I intercept communications from an alien fleet," Jake said. "Tonight, you're going to hear them too." It was 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Jake tuned the radio to the alien frequency. At first, there was only static. Jake's heart was pounding. What if the signals did not come tonight? What if the aliens had changed their schedule? Then the beeping and clicking sounds began. The studio was completely silent. 50 million people around the world listened to the strange alien language. After a few minutes, the English words started. "Final invasion preparations proceeding on schedule," the cold alien voice said through the radio. "Psychological warfare teams report successful test runs. Human social media platforms compromised and ready for manipulation." The comments on the live stream stopped. People were listening in shock. "Earth defense capabilities remain minimal," another alien voice said. "Human military technology poses no threat to invasion fleet. Recommend proceeding with original timeline." Jake looked at the camera. "That's them," he said quietly. "That's the alien fleet that's going to attack Earth in 3 weeks." For the next 15 minutes, the world listened to aliens discussing how to destroy human civilization. They talked about which cities to attack first. They talked about how to cut off the internet and electricity. They talked about how many humans they planned to keep alive as workers. When the signals ended, the studio was silent for a long moment. The comment sections on every platform had gone quiet. Everyone was trying to process what they had just heard. Keanu stepped back onto the stage. "You just heard aliens planning to invade Earth," he said. "Jake Martinez, the man you called crazy, the man you laughed at, has been trying to warn us for months. He risked everything to tell us the truth." Jake looked at the camera one more time. "I know I'm just a janitor," he said. "I know I'm nobody special. But sometimes regular people have to do extraordinary things. The aliens think they understand. Humans, they think we'll turn on each other and make their job easy. Let's prove them wrong." The broadcast ended, but the world was just beginning to react. Within minutes, #Jake Martinez was trending on every social media platform. News stations were calling experts to analyze the recordings. Scientists were setting up radio equipment to try to intercept the alien signals themselves. Jake sat in the empty studio, exhausted. His phone was ringing constantly with calls from reporters and government officials. "You did it," Keanu said. "The whole world heard them. No one can deny it anymore." Jake nodded, but he looked worried. "Now comes the hard part. We told them. The aliens are coming. But we still have to figure out how to stop them." Keanu smiled. "Jake, we just got 2 billion people to listen to a fired janitor tell them about an alien invasion. If we can do that, we can do anything." Outside the studio, the world was waking up to a new reality. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they had 3 weeks to prepare for war. The world changed overnight. Within 6 hours of Jake's broadcast, every major government on Earth was in emergency meetings. Radio telescopes around the world turned toward Jupiter, searching for the alien fleet. Military leaders called urgent conferences. Scientists worked around the clock to decode the alien signals. But the biggest change was in how people saw Jake Martinez. 3 days after the broadcast, Jake was sitting in a hotel room in Washington, D.C. The President of the United States had asked to meet with him. Jake still could not believe it. 3 months ago, he was a janitor nobody cared about. Now world leaders wanted his advice. "Mr. Martinez," the President said when they met in the Oval Office, "the entire world owes you a debt of gratitude. You may have saved our species." Jake felt uncomfortable with all the attention. "I just did what anyone would do, sir. I heard something important and tried to tell people about it." "But you didn't give up," the President said. "Even when everyone called you crazy, even when it seemed hopeless. That kind of courage is rare." Jake had been working with a team of scientists and military experts for 3 days. They were analyzing every alien communication Jake had recorded. Dr. Sarah Kim, a linguist from MIT, had been studying the alien language patterns. "The aliens call themselves the Zephyrians," Dr. Kim explained. "They've been watching Earth for about 50 years. They chose to invade now because they think human society is at its weakest point." "Why do they think that?" Jake asked. "Because of social media. They've been studying how quickly humans turn against each other online. They saw what happened to you as a perfect example. One video and millions of people decided you were a bad person without knowing anything about you." General Patricia Lopez, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, spread out satellite images on the table. "We've confirmed the alien fleet's position. 47 ships hiding behind Jupiter. They're using some kind of technology that makes them nearly invisible to our telescopes." "How long do we have?" Jake asked. "According to your recordings, they plan to start their attack in 18 days, but something has changed." Dr. Kim pulled out a transcript of the most recent alien communications. "Look at this from last night's transmission." Jake read the transcript. The aliens were discussing whether to proceed with their invasion timeline. "Human response patterns differ from predictions," the alien communication said. "Expected social fragmentation has not occurred. Population appears to be unifying against external threat. Subject Jake Martinez has become symbol of resistance rather than example of human weakness. Recommend delaying invasion to reassess human psychological profile." Jake looked up from the transcript. "They're confused about what happened." "Exactly," Dr. Kim said. "They expected humans to dismiss you as crazy. They expected us to ignore the warning and keep fighting among ourselves. Instead, people rallied around you. They started working together." General Lopez nodded. "In the past 3 days, we've seen unprecedented international cooperation. Countries that have been enemies for decades are sharing technology and resources. Everyone wants to help defend Earth." Jake thought about this. "So our reaction surprised them?" "More than surprised them," Dr. Kim said. It made them question everything they thought they knew about humans. They've been watching us for 50 years, but they missed something important. What did they miss? They saw how we can turn against each other quickly. But they didn't understand that we can also come together just as quickly when we face a real threat. They studied our worst behaviors but ignored our best ones. Over the next week, Jake became the unofficial spokesman for Earth's defense efforts. He appeared on news shows around the world. He met with scientists and military leaders. He even addressed the United Nations. But the most important thing Jake did was continue listening to the alien signals every night. The Zephyrians were still talking, and they were getting more worried. Human unity levels exceed all projections, Jake heard them say one night. Psychological warfare protocols appear ineffective against species that can rapidly shift from division to cooperation. Recommend extended observation period before proceeding with invasion, another alien voice said. Current human response suggests significant gaps in our behavioral analysis. Jake was not alone during these late-night listening sessions anymore. Emma had moved to Washington to be with her father. She sat with him every night, taking notes and helping him record the alien communications. "Dad, I'm so proud of you," Emma said one night after they finished listening to the aliens. "Do you know what people are saying about you online now?" Jake shook his head. He had been afraid to look at social media since the broadcast. "They're calling you a hero. They're saying you're the most important person on Earth. The video of you asking for my autograph has completely different comments now. People are saying it shows how kind and thoughtful you are." Jake smiled sadly. "It's the same video. I'm the same person. The only thing that changed is what people chose to see." "Exactly," Emma said. "And that's what the aliens didn't understand. Humans can choose to see the worst in each other, or we can choose to see the best. You helped us choose to see the best." 2 weeks after the broadcast, the alien communications revealed something unexpected. "Fleet Command has ordered withdrawal to Proxima Centauri system," the alien said. "Earth invasion canceled pending extended psychological study of human species. Human rapid adaptation capabilities pose unknown. Tactical challenges. Species demonstrates ability to transform weakness into strength through collective action." Jake could hardly believe what he was hearing. The aliens were leaving. Earth was safe. Dr. Kim was excited when Jake told her about the alien withdrawal. "They're calling off the invasion because they realized they underestimated us," she said. "They thought our social divisions made us weak. Instead, our ability to overcome those divisions made us stronger than they expected." The president held a press conference the next day to announce that the alien threat had ended. Jake stood beside him as he spoke to the world. "Jake Martinez represents the best of humanity," the president said. "He shows us that heroism doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from doing the right thing even when it's difficult." After the press conference, Jake walked outside with Emma and Keanu. They sat on a bench and watched people celebrate in the streets. "What are you going to do now, Dad?" Emma asked. Jake had been offered dozens of jobs. NASA wanted him to head their new extraterrestrial communications department. Universities wanted him to teach courses about alien contact. Publishers wanted him to write books about his experience. "I think I want to go back to cleaning," Jake said. Emma and Keanu stared at him. "What? Not because I have to," Jake explained, "but because I liked the work. It was honest and simple. And maybe now people will understand that there's dignity in all kinds of work." Keanu smiled. "That's very you, Jake, but I have a different idea." "What's that?" "What if we started a foundation? We could help people who get attacked online for no good reason. We could teach others about the importance of listening to voices that seem small or unimportant." Jake thought about it. "The Jake Martinez Foundation for Second Chances?" "Something like that." Jake looked at his daughter, who was beaming with pride. He looked at Keanu, who had believed in him when no one else would. He thought about all the people around the world who had chosen to listen to an unemployed janitor talk about alien invasions. "Okay," Jake said. "Let's do it." 6 months later, Jake received a package in the mail. Inside was a newspaper clipping. From a small town in Ohio, the headline read, "Local teacher credits Jake Martinez story with inspiring. Her to report unsafe conditions at school." At the bottom of the clipping was a handwritten note. "Mr. Martinez, your story taught me that sometimes the most important thing you can do is speak up, even when no one wants to listen. Thank you for showing us how to be brave." Jake smiled and put the clipping in a special box where he kept similar letters. He got dozens of them every week from people around the world who had found the courage to speak truth when it mattered. Emma was right. He was a hero. But not because he saved the world from aliens. He was a hero because he showed other people how to find their own courage. And that, Jake realized, was more important than stopping any invasion.